Having established the revolutionary concept that the wave function is an inherent expression of the dynamic interplay between the 10th dimension, cosmic expansion, and the 11th dimension, cosmic contraction, we can now pivot to one of its most profound implications: that these fundamental universal waves are the primordial architects of cosmic structures, sculpting stars and planets from the very fabric of dimensional tension rather than merely being emergent properties of existing matter. This perspective fundamentally shifts our understanding of cosmogenesis, positing that the universe's large-scale structures are not just products of gravitational aggregation, but are intricately woven patterns within the tapestry of these primary dimensional oscillations. Conventional cosmology explains the formation of stars and galaxies through the gravitational collapse of gas and dust clouds. While gravity is undeniably a powerful force in our three-dimensional reality, our 11-dimensional model suggests that the very initial conditions and the guiding principles for such collapse are rooted in something far more fundamental: the topology and dynamics of the primary dimensions themselves. The universal waves, born from the counterpoint of the 10th and 11th dimensions, act as a cosmic blueprint, preconditioning regions of space for matter to condense and form structures. These universal waves are not merely passive fields, they are active, dynamic entities that dictate the very probability distribution of energy and matter across the cosmos. Just as a standing wave in a classical system defines nodes and antinodes, these universal waves create a dimensional topology across the universe, delineating regions where the probabilistic amplitude for matter accumulation is higher, antinodes of contraction, and where it is lower, nodes of expansion. The universe, from this perspective, is not just expanding, it is resonating with its own fundamental dimensional tension. The formation of structures, therefore, is not simply a bottom-up process of matter clumping together due to gravity. It is a top-down process where the fundamental dimensional wave function creates the conditions, the energetic and probabilistic landscapes, that allow and encourage matter to coalesce in specific patterns. Gravity, then, becomes the deterministic 10th dimensional force that localizes matter within these probabilistically preordained regions, rather than being the sole instigator of condensation. The structures of the universe are echoes of the universal wave. The formation of stars, colossal furnaces of light and energy, provides a compelling large-scale manifestation of this dimensional wave function. Conventional astrophysics describes stars forming from vast, diffuse clouds of gas and dust, nebulae, that become gravitationally unstable and collapse. However, our model proposes a deeper causality. Initial conditions, the cosmic wave. Functions, probabilistic landscape. The initial diffuse gas clouds in interstellar space are not merely random agglomerations of matter. They exist within the omnipresent universal wave generated by the 10th and 11th dimensions. Within this cosmic wave function, there are inherent probabilistic fluctuations in energy and matter density, arising from the local interplay between expansion and contraction. Regions where the 11th dimension's contractive pull momentarily dominates the 10th dimension's expansive push manifest as areas of slightly higher density. These are the antinodes of the cosmic wave function, signifying areas of higher probability for matter to condense. Gravity as a deterministic manifestation of dimensional pull. Gravitational collapse, the force typically cited as the primary instigator of star formation, is interpreted in our model as a deterministic force fundamentally rooted in the 10th dimension. However, its pull towards accumulation and unification is ultimately a manifestation of the 11th dimension's inherent tendency towards cosmic contraction and interconnectedness. Gravity is the means by which the universe locally attempts to crunch or unify itself, guided by the influence of the 11th dimension. It is the deterministic agent that acts upon the probabilistic landscape set by the universal wave. For a diffuse gas cloud to actually collapse and form a star, it must overcome internal thermal pressure. This leads to the concept of the gene's mass or gene's length, a critical threshold of mass, density and temperature. This critical point is not arbitrary, it represents a resonant condition within the cosmic wave function. The cloud effectively tunes into a specific harmonic of the underlying 10th, 11th dimensional oscillation, reaching a state where the contractive pull of the 11th dimension, manifesting as gravity, can overcome the expansive push of the 10th dimension, manifesting as internal pressure. This resonance allows the cloud to efficiently channel energy from the universal wave, initiating the collapse. The larger-scale galactic dynamics, 8th and 9th dimensions, further influence where and when such optimal resonant points are met, acting as a grand cosmic resonator that guides the formation of stellar nurseries along the pathways defined by the universal wave. As the gas cloud collapses, the density and temperature in its core dramatically increase. This process is a macro-dimensional wave function convergence. The dispersed wave function, representing the probabilistic distribution of matter across the vast nebula, begins to localize and concentrate around the collapsing protostar. The enormous gravitational potential, a deterministic force of the 10th dimension, forces matter inward, culminating in a state where the 11th dimension's quantum interconnectedness becomes paramount. The protostar's core becomes a point of extreme dimensional interplay, where the universal wave experiences a profound localized convergence. The ignition of nuclear fusion in the star's core marks its birth as a luminous object and is the ultimate small Big Bang at the cosmic scale. This event is far more than mere thermal compression. It represents the point where the extreme density and temperature resulting from the 10th dimension's deterministic gravitational collapse finally allow the 11th dimension's quantum interconnectedness to fully manifest. The fundamental nuclear forces that govern fusion are inherently quantum interactions. The immense energy released is the energetic signature of the probabilistic wave functions of atomic nuclei, undergoing a profound 11th dimension-mediated transformation, collapsing into new unified states and releasing colossal amounts of energy. The star, then, is a beacon of light, born from the intense, localized interplay of the 10th and 11th dimensions, a continuous manifestation of their dynamic balance. Its stable existence is a testament to an ongoing contained Big Bang at its core. Planetary formation, localized resonances and dimensional interference. The formation of planets, smaller and more complex structures around nascent stars, can also be understood as a direct consequence of these universal waves, but at a more localized and nuanced scale involving complex interference patterns. Protoplanetary disks, a flattened dimensional wavefront. After a star forms, the remaining gas and dust often settle into a protoplanetary disk, a flattened structure orbiting the young star. This disk can be conceptualized as a localized rotating wavefront of the universal wave, where the 10th dimension's expansive forces and the 11th dimension's contractive pulls are interacting within the gravitational potential of the central star. The disk's flat, organized structure, a manifestation in the first, second and third dimensions, with inherent rotation in the fourth dimension, reflects an underlying dimensional order. Planetesimal formation. Resonances within the dimensional wave. Within this protoplanetary disk, small clumps of matter, planetesimals, begin to form. This is not simply random accretion. It occurs in specific regions where the local conditions within the disk, density, velocity, temperature, create localized resonant frequencies that align with specific harmonics of the universal wave. These resonances cause dust grains to preferentially stick together and grow, forming larger bodies. The fifth dimension's cyclicality and optimal states are crucial here, as the conditions for accretion become cyclically favorable in certain orbital locations. Orbital resonances and dimensional interference patterns. As planetesimals grow into protoplanets, they begin to gravitationally influence each other. This often leads to the formation of orbital resonances, where the orbital periods of two bodies are simple integer ratios, for example 2:1 or 3:2. These orbital resonances are direct manifestations of complex dimensional interference patterns within the protoplanetary disk. The gravitational forces, 10th dimension, of the growing planets create standing waves or ripples within the disk, shaping its structure and carving out gaps. These patterns are not random, they are expressions of the underlying universal wave's geometry, creating stable pathways or nodes where planets can accrete and remain in stable orbits. The 11th dimension's role in accretion and stability. The gradual accumulation of matter accretion into planets, seemingly a purely deterministic 10th dimension process, is subtly guided by the 11th dimension. The 11th dimension's tendency towards contraction and unification encourages the localized condensation of matter. Furthermore, the long-term stability of planetary orbits, even after formation, might be attributed to their harmonious integration within the complex, higher dimensional interference patterns of the universal wave, allowing them to exist as stable, localized manifestations of the dimensional interplay. In essence, the formation of stars and planets is not merely a consequence of matter aggregating under gravity. Instead, it is a grand cosmic dance where the universal waves generated by the fundamental tension between the 10th and 11th dimensions act as the primordial blueprint. These waves create the necessary resonant conditions and topological landscapes, guiding the deterministic forces of gravity to sculpt the very structures that define our universe. The cosmos is a symphony of these universal waves, and stars and planets are the resonant harmonies born from their fundamental interplay. This concludes the second part of our essay, where we have explored how universal waves serve as the architects of cosmic structures. The next part will delve into how the double-slit experiment provides experimental evidence for this radical reinterpretation of the wave function.